Hi, welcome to Inside the Moms Club, where being a mom is the coolest place to be. Here in the Moms Club, we believe that what embarrasses you now will make a great story later. And let's face it, you don't laugh sometimes, you're gonna cry. Join us in having a good laugh together. I'm Monica Samuels. You are now inside the Moms Club, your private destination for all things mom. Hi, moms out there. So glad that you could join us today. And inside the Moms Club, we have a great show. It's going to be a lot of fun. And I'm here with my co-host today, Leslie Harrell.
Hello.
And Leslie and I, we have something in common, which is we both have baseball boys. My son is playing baseball in college. And
I still have a sophomore in high school.
He's in high school.
Not driving.
Oh no, that's even the
Makes it a lot of extra work.
That is totally the worst. But I remember from my days in baseball, going way back, since Chase has been playing since he was 5. And I remember when he was 9, he had a pitching coach, batting coach, practice, catching coach. And then finally one day he talked to a friend of mine and asked if she could tell me that he was overscheduled because he was afraid to tell me that I was like putting too much pressure on him. So we did all of that, but what are you doing with
Marshall? We're kind of in the
same
same boat right now. I mean, he plays baseball, and of course he's 15, so he's trying to get bigger. He's kind of hitting that stride of an age where it's like he wants to get stronger, and he's starting to realize that he's got some, high school potential. And so, he's doing the baseball lessons, and he's doing some pitching lessons and some batting lessons, and then he's doing some personal training. And so, and it all just spreads us super thin. Like I'm running all over town, like 45 minutes one direction and then going the other direction. And, you're just constantly, when they don't drive and they can't take care of themselves, you do have to take that active role, which we're all happy to do as parents, of course, but like it's a lot. I mean, It's time consuming. It's a commitment.
Have you done, because when they can't drive and you have to take them to all the tournaments, you have to get there at like 45 minutes early at 7:30. So you get there at 6:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
And then you wait for them to open the field, and then it's freezing, and you have to sit in this one spot, and you eat the warmed over breakfast tacos. And you're
the best are the moms that have like the whole first aid kit. Like, if you have anything that happens, it's like there's the cracked ice and they're all running around. Like
they have that. But let me tell you, so we had one team I was on, the moms got smart. And so smart, I don't say smart. One of them had a flask of vodka that she kept in her bag at all times. And then these moms would go off to Sonic together, and they didn't always invite me, which I was like, what's going on? Because I was the team mom, and I guess they thought I wasn't supposed to know this stuff. So yeah, they were making their own little, special slushy beverages. And you notice that they would start cheering a lot more. But the funny end to that story is that mom, so she was teaching Sunday school, and she forgot that she had the flask in her purse. And her 5-year-old daughter, who she had sitting in the class while she was there, reached in through playing with her purse, and she reached in and pulled up the flask and said, "Hey, what's this?" And so
that's no fun. No fun.
So but yeah, we did all that. So
you do a lot of running.
You know what it's like. You do a lot of running, and then you have a lot of people that want you to spend money, coaches, and there's always a coach, and there's always a new bat. I mean, those bats aren't cheap.
No, so none of it's cheap. Anytime you're doing kids activities, it's not cheap.
No, it is something else. So, which brings us to today, which I'm very excited. We have an awesome guest. We think we've done a lot. I mean, getting up a little early, spending a little extra money. I mean, what's that? This mom, who, by the way, is a friend of yours, which is very exciting too. Friend. She did. I mean, wait till you hear her story. You're going to feel inadequate all the way around. I don't care what you're doing for your kid. Just wait till you hear her story. Lori Sink is the mom of 5 kids. She's got 3 boys and 3 boys and 2 girls.
Yeah. Spencer,
Caleb, Mitchell, Sadie, and JC are her kids. And 2 of them have had roles on Broadway. Mitchell appeared in Elf and some other shows. Sadie had the lead in Annie, and Sadie is now one of the stars of Stranger Things. And Lori, she has to tell you her story. Lori, welcome to the show. You got to share with the moms what you did. Welcome.
Yeah, I kind of, when we started talking about like what we do as moms, I said, in my memory, the mom that I always remember who like just did it all and like did it with grace and kindness and just was always so on task and everything. And I was fortunate enough to be there kind of early on in your life before your kids kind of took off on these Broadway and film careers. So it was really cool to do the show. I was like, well, Lori is the person because you are both teachers,
Mhm.
right? And so like, how did it all go?
Yeah,
Because
tell us how you
Started.
how
Well,
this
I
happened.
the same small town in Texas, and my husband was a football coach, and we were just the Friday Night Lights kind of family. He was assistant football coach, and my boys were always the water boys, and just growing up, football was everything. And my boys, I guess they were like 14, 13. And then Sadie and Mitchell were 9 and 10, and they started at home. Just my husband and I don't act. We never did any kind of performing. And so we had these two little kids that were wanting to do skits all the time. They were dancing. Their High School Musical was very big then, and they would act it out from start to finish. And so I started thinking maybe I should find some kind of theater, something that they could do. And so I saw in the paper there was an ad for a local community theater that was doing a play. And so they auditioned, they got in, and just loved it. And so then it was kind of just what's next? What do we do next? Mitchell had kind of a leading role. Sadie didn't say a word. And there was really nothing going on in our little town. So I thought, well, we lived about an hour from Houston. So I looked into some theaters there. There was something going on. I thought, well, let's just take him to audition. Sadie actually wasn't even old enough to audition, but really, really wanted to. So I asked them, and they were like, sure. She can. She pulled a monologue out of a minute-long monologue. I don't know how she knew it, but she had listened to the play that she was in, and just put it together and got it together for the audition. And anyway, it was Secret Garden. They cast her as Mary Lennox. She was supposed to be 9, but she was 8. And Mitchell also got cast in it, and had a great time, and just were really passionate about it. So the next thing was the regional theater Tuts in Houston they had a performing arts school. It was after school classes, singing, acting, dancing. And so they auditioned for that. And at this point, we're driving to Houston a lot, and which
well,
was
don't forget to say too, you had a 2-year-old. Like you had your bonus child.
she wasn't quite 2, so yeah, she was in tow. And
Younger.
Because meanwhile, Casey's back in town coaching football and running your other 2 boys around.
exactly. And so the main stage shows for that year for Tuts happened to be White Christmas, which had a little girl's role. And Sadie ended up getting that role with another little girl. They shared it. And it was at that point that the driving, it was a lot. And there was a moment I was like, Sadie, I just don't know if you can audition for the next one. Well, the next one was Annie, the musical. And she was like, please let me, and she, it was just that moment I shuddered at the thought of, shutting it all down. But we let her audition, and she did get the role of Annie, and which was, regional theater. And yeah, and from there it just kind of snowballed, and from there. Mhm.
When you say regional, you're not kidding, like regional. Brenham is what, an hour? How long were you driving to take your kids to do this? It was like an
Hour, depending on traffic, but and it was fine. Everybody was having a good time, and the kids were happy. And then so during Annie, they had an open call for Annie the musical on Broadway. They had it in Austin, and so I took Sadie there, and that kind of led the way for her to being in the show on Broadway. But Mitchell actually booked the first Broadway show. Because they really didn't have any boy opportunities in Houston. Like I said, they had those two roles that Sadie got to take advantage of. But we went up to New York City. I had never been there. We flew up there, and he auditioned and got some callbacks, and ended up being offered the role. And that's really the point that's when everything changed, and we're like, do we do this? Do we take these kids to out of Texas that this is all we know, and we loved it and thought we were going to just be there the rest of our lives. And
you really thought that this was going to be temporary, right? Like you thought you were going up. I mean, I think it was November, like October, November timeframe, and you thought you were going to go for a couple months.
I did. And because it was 3-month run, we were there for 2 weeks. We got an apartment in Queens, which I'm not sure what we were thinking because it was like a mile walk to the subway, get on the subway, get to the stage door, well,
Wait,
first,
keep in mind, keep telling the story about and pushing a stroller.
and it was the three of us that went. It was the four of us, my husband and two older kids who were doing football. It was during football season. They were a sophomore and junior, I believe. Yes, and we left them behind and came up to got our apartment in Queens. I had my 2-year-old and Sadie and Mitchell, who were 10 and just turned 12 at the time. So anyway, so we'd make the trek into the city, walking and again, we weren't used to this weather. I mean, like, it doesn't even snow, as you know. And so it was like the weather, we didn't even know how to tie a scarf. And so we were there for 2 weeks and Sadie got a role in Annie on Broadway. So then it became pushing JC, going to the Elf stage door, literally going through Times Square to drop Sadie off. And then JC and I waiting just in random.
You're waiting in like a hotel, right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, what's great is once we got up there, it was a lot of moms have my story. It was really, there were a lot of kids on Broadway at that time because there was Matilda the musical, there was Christmas Story. So there was a big community of moms that were doing the same thing. They had kids at home. Some of them lived in LA, just all over the country. And so, it was a nice support system that we had there, but still it was kind of crazy to look back on.
And then, like, how did you manage, like, all of a sudden, okay, so now you realize that you're probably going to stay and, like, it's kind of snowballing. And then what was the decision? Like, you had Casey and the boys in Texas, and then you're like, how did you guys navigate that? And you're both like, you're living on one salary, one teacher salary, navigating 2 house payments or, whatever. And just like, how did you, like, that financially had to be super stressful. And then you're like, what are we doing? Like,
it was because I had taught before, and then was just full time taking kids to stage doors, basically. So Casey and all the boys were at home, and we really thought we were coming home after the 3-month Elf thing. We thought, okay, we're going to be done. Well, Sadie got into Annie, so we're like, well, we'll be here a little bit longer. And she was actually a swing in Annie at the time, and I think after, I don't even know how many months that was. After some time, the first Annie aged out, and so they ended up offering the role to Annie to Sadie and another girl. They shared the role. So I mean, we're not going home then. So we, in the meantime, we were like at 3 different apartments in the city. We figured out Queens was not the place to be, so we moved in, and we're like on 50th and 8th, and we're able to walk to the stage door. So that was nice. But yeah, and so then after about 8 months, we decided that this is not ending. The kids are getting work, they're loving it. And so my husband, we packed up everything, and he and my 2 older boys came up, and it was really a leap of faith because he didn't even have, he had been teaching and coaching, had no job, came up and just thought, well, we're just gonna figure it out. And it all worked out, and we ended up here in Summit, New Jersey. And he
just like walked into the school like sight unseen and kind of said, hey.
It really, everything, the stars aligned, everything was worked out the way it was supposed to. And he's still working in Summit. He's teaching, he's coaching, and a little different than Texas football, but still great football. And my older boys, that was the big thing. When they came here, they were juniors and senior in high school. So it was rough on them. I mean, it was tough. I mean, they ended up doing fine, and both of them will tell you. My oldest son works for the Giants. My second oldest, he's in law school, but they both went to college here in New Jersey, and have both said, this is really great. We're so glad that we moved. We love Texas always, but it's, their world kind of, opened up. There's life outside of our small town Texas, but and again, we love having those roots, but
you also have another spin, because then when Sadie started getting film roles, then you're not really in New York anymore. Then you're sort of like going to Canada to film Glass Houses, and then you're in Atlanta to do Stranger Things, and then it was another split, right?
Exactly. So we all get up here, and they're in there. Mitchell was in 3 different Broadway shows. Sadie was in Annie. After Annie, she was in The Audience, which was with Helen Mirren, which was an amazing experience. And after she did that, she started getting roles. She got like a small role on Blue Bloods, and then she did the NBC series Odyssey, which was canceled like after American Odyssey after a season, but still she had a great time. And but that filmed in New York, so we got lucky that American Odyssey filmed in New York, and we were just commuting back and forth. But then when Stranger Things happened, it films in Atlanta. So then she and I have been there. This is her 3rd season, and she and I have been in Atlanta because she has to have a guardian on set. But she just turned 18 in April, and so she's on her own now, which is exciting. But it's so different. But she's able to, no more child labor laws and no more tutor. She's out of school. So I feel like we're getting into the next phase of life, which I have. JC is now 10. And so I can just kind of be a mom here, which is really nice.
So is JC, so you've got two children who like are athletic and 2 that are artistic. What's JC? She's like going to break the tie. Does she just?
She's like a mix.
Uh-huh.
She doesn't. She actually, there's a flashback of Sadie's character Max in season 3, and she had one line and had a good time. She did it, but she hasn't really expressed interest in acting. I think because she sees it and she's just not so sure. Sadie and Mitchell had no idea what they were getting into, but JC's conscious. She plays softball. She loves softball, loves basketball, and just loves school. So
she's a big personality. She could certainly cross over.
And we'll see. She's just enjoying, just kind of normalcy. So it's nice.
Well, you've had quite the experience. Have you ever thought about writing a book? I mean, I can't even imagine, because you'd never been to New York and you're taking your kids up there.
Yeah, it was
I mean, I can't even.
I have the worst sense of direction. And here I was, it was really, actually New York's not tough, not too tough, but it's kind of hard for me. But yeah.
And now you just around. You said originally you're like, I'll never drive in New York City.
Yeah, we were there for the whole 8 months, and I just would watch cars. I'm like, I would never ever drive in the city. And now, I mean, I won't let anybody else drive. I'm just in and out. Like,
oh wow, I'm impressed because I would never drive in New York City. Did you ever have a moment where, like with my son, now that he's in college baseball, he goes at various times during that process, because we were traveling around the country for all these tryouts. And it was, I mean, I've been in one end of the country to the next. And every once in a while, I'd be hauling his bag over, it's 110 degrees somewhere. And I've done a million things, brought him a fan and done all these things. And out of the blue, he'll tell me, I don't think I really want to do this anymore. Now, did your kids ever say that? Did they ever like think, it's going to be more like a job and I don't like it? Or if they did, and you sacrificed, I mean, your whole family moved up there, what do you think you would have done in that situation? Would you have said, well, we've all moved up here, so you need to keep going? Or
no, I would have been okay, we're done. Like it was just really, they drove it. Like it was just us kind of following. I mean, the doors opened and we just, kind of walked through them, because they were passionate about it, and that's what they wanted to do.
So they never backed down and said, like, I'm not sure I want to do this.
No, they really just loved it and just wanted to keep going. If anything, we were the ones that were just kind of like, early on, like, are we sure? And of course, when you make these huge life changes, you have people in your life, like voices that are saying, so we had some that were so well-meaning friends and family that are like, well, can't they just do theater in Houston? And I mean, sure, they could have, but is that the best thing for them? Is that giving them the opportunity that they can reach their potential? And we just in the end decided that's what we had to do. And then also, I had just huge support. My mom helped me through so much. Just my family, huge help.
Yeah, there was a lot of flying back, your family flying JC up and flying her back. And I remember, because we saw you that when you were living in Astoria, my daughter and I came up to see y'all, and you were kind of living in sort of this like, okay, this is fine. And we were like, I mean, we were with her when she like shuffled to the subway, and we took the subway and JC and all that. So I only got to experience it one day, but I kept thinking, holy cow, this is crazy that you're doing all this. But you did have, I mean, your parents are awesome. and they're super supportive and they're fun people. And I know they miss you because they're still here, right? In Texas.
Yeah. And yeah, we miss them. My mom was really, she would go. Sometimes I would stay home. Like when Sadie filmed Glass Castle in Montreal, my mom was there a large part of the time. Or when Mitchell was on tour with Christmas Story, and I don't even know. I can't even, like, a lot of it's a blur to me. I don't really remember. I was with Sadie. I think she was still an Annie. And so my mom went on tour with Mitchell. So it was kind of, it takes a village, and it was,
With 2 kids and the child labor laws, I guess you had to have somebody,
yeah,
one of
exactly.
them.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, that takes a lot of,
And also their dad, like he was, I mean, to have his wife and 3 young children move to Queens, like he supported us and was, and it had to be hard.
Yeah.
I would think so. Well, I will tell you, when Sadie accepts her Academy Award or Mitchell gets his Tony, I think we wouldn't wait and hear them thank their mother and their father and the rest. I mean, you all did sacrifice a lot, and I'm just so impressed that you did that, and you've got such a great story. It's all gone so well for you all.
Like, I mean, you traveling the country with baseball. I mean, it's really similar. It's just a little bit.
Well, Lori, the other day we were talking. Well, we're friends on Facebook, and you posted. So your son Mitchell is at Pace, right? Mm-hmm. And he's doing musical theater. And you posted a clip of him it's a school project, I think, that he was doing where he was singing something from My Fair Lady. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah. It was his last song assignment of the semester. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And is he still loving it?
Yes, he does. It's really good. He's loving Pace, and I mean, it's online, but it's amazing what they can do online. He's dancing. I hear he's on the 3rd floor and he's like dancing and singing. So they're doing what they can. But
yeah. And he's just super talented. What does he think he wants to continue to do?
I guess the goal is to get on Broadway again, but he really loves just the whole everything. He loves working with kids and just he loves everything about it. So.
And Sadie is also Stranger Things, but she's also modeling, from what I was told.
It's funny. She kind of, once she started after the season came out, she had the opportunity to do some different campaigns, and like she was like in a couple of different fashion shows in Paris and in and yeah, 2 different ones there, and just has been fortunate to get like campaigns with like Nike or Miu Miu. So that's been that we never saw that coming, like that she would be part of like this fashion world, but she's loved it.
Well, we would like to, going back to Mitchell, because I did see that yesterday, and he has a beautiful voice. If you don't mind, we'd like to play that. We'd love to share it with the audience because he's so talented.
Of course.
So let's hear Mitchell sing.
Sing. Now that's hard to say.
I have often walked down the street before, but the pavement always stayed beneath my feet before. All at once am I several stories high, knowing I'm on the street where you live. Are there lilac trees in the heart of town? Can you hear a lark in any other part of town? Does enchantment pour out of every door? No, it's just on the street where you live. And all the towering feeling, just to know somehow you are near. The overpowering feeling that any second you may suddenly appear. People stop and stare, they don't bother me, for there's nowhere else on earth that I would rather be. Let the time go by. I won't care if I can be here on the street where you live. People stop and stare, they don't bother me. For there's nowhere else on earth that I would rather be. Let the time go by. I won't care if I can be here on the street where you
Wow. That was awesome. You were so talented. You said you saw him on Elf?
Well, yeah, well, we went to see him when they first went to New York.
That's great.
You have to be so proud.
Well,
Yeah.
and,
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
No, I was saying that he actually filmed it on the street where he lived, just right outside.
He lives on a nice
Literally the
street.
street where he lives.
That's a very nice street. That was very, very, very.
Is that your house?
Very pretty.
In the front there?
That he came down. Yes, yeah, that's it.
Oh,
so
I like
cool.
your house.
That's so fun.
And I can imagine Christmas caroling with your family must be a real treat for everybody because what a beautiful.
Oh, my older boys, it's so funny. They said several years ago, they'd said, God, it's not even fun to sing in the car with Sadie and Mitchell. They're just so perfect. It's not. They're like, you make it not even fun.
Do I have this right? I know you said you and Casey don't sing or act, but I think Casey sang, didn't he?
He would sing in church, like growing up. I think he was in choir. He he can definitely sing. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought Casey had some hidden talent in there.
But I cannot. There's none. Yeah.
Hey, you're talented. Your mom. You're all good.
Yeah, you juggle. You've done some amazing things. Wow. Well, if you had to, I guess if you had to do it all over again, you would do it all the same, or what? Would you change anything after this experience?
I don't think so. And it was funny. I was talking to Mitchell about it today, and he was saying, "Gosh, I can't even." He's like, it's just a blur. Like, to look back on and think that we did that. And but no, I don't think we changed any. I mean, maybe living in Queens. I don't know. That was crazy, but
yeah, if you've never been there before,
but you can tell the story now. So that's one of those experiences that you can share with everybody.
Well, it was funny because when we were visiting last week, and I was saying like, we'd really like you to do this podcast with us and stuff, and like Lori literally, like as we started talking, she's like, "Man, Leslie," she goes, "I've just forgotten about." Like she was just having these aha moments of like, "Holy crap, we really did all that."
yeah, that's worth it.
Yeah, I really can't imagine like dropping your kid off from one stage door to the next. And you said, but you had a good support group of other moms. I mean, there's always the momager or the stage mom or whatever. So there wasn't any of that. You just were a good group of.
Oh, there was that. No, no, there's going to be any. No, it was a great group of women and moms.
Mhm.
But you were never that. Like you were just on this. Like from my perspective, you were just on this wave of it was just pushing you, and you were sort of like, okay, what do we do next? Like you weren't like trying necessarily to go to this level. It just sort of evolved.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
But there's that that reputation of stage moms. You kind of have to. It's hard because you kind of have to show that you're not like that. But
Yeah. Well, and did you find just generally, because I've done some research for a book on select sports about kids in sports, and really that what my research showed and in writing it and my own personal experience, when you push your kid at about 12 for baseball or a sport like that, they shut down. They're like, if they don't want to do it, I don't care how much you drive them, they're not going to do it. No. And of course you can't make someone who's bigger than you at that point go out and hit it.
Exactly.
But what they said is, if the kid is driving it, if the child wants, if it's something they really want, then you should go all in and pursue it. And is that what you found? I know your experience appears to be like that, but just generally, or is it the kids are just talented and they love it and they're driven, or they're being pushed? Most of them get pushed, or what do you
you saw a lot of
in
people
that
around
business?
you.
Right. Yeah, you do see all different types. And there were times that I would maybe an audition would come across and Sadie or Mitchell would be, hi.
Hi.
Sadie and Mitchell would be not real sure if they wanted to do it. And there's something like, just go ahead, just do it. And there have been times that they were like, oh, thank you, Mom, for for pushing me to do that. I really am glad. But there were times that it was true that maybe it wasn't the best idea for them to do, and I should have listened more to them. But you live and learn, and it all works out.
I think that's parenting,
Well, I
right?
think,
It's all
yeah.
live and learn.
It sounds like you've lived and learned well on this one. So that is so great. Well, we're going to bring in some moms who might have some questions for you, our Zoomer moms. So Leslie, if you'd like to introduce our Zoomer moms who are here with us today.
Yeah, we have Raha Lewis, who is an influencer in a fashion and pulp culture. She is a proud single mom who has reinvented herself several times. She's written for the LA Times, People Magazine, and In Style. And she entered in the fashion world with her company, Taylor here, collaborating with stylists to create runway looks for stars such as Naomi Campbell and Kate Perry, and maybe a couple of others.
Katy Perry, yeah, Meryl Streep.
Yeah, hi guys. How is everyone?
Hi, Raha. We're
Good.
great.
See
And
you.
she's also a recovering attorney like myself. So we have we're going to do a whole show on that. I think we're going to have a show for people who
Recovering
survive
attorneys.
that experience. But
100%. Everyone I know who's a lawyer, I'm always like, oh, wow. Wait till you come to this side.
I know. Well, when I wrote my book, people were like, well, are you going to, because my book was about how you go back into the workplace after you've taken time off of kids. And they said, so when are you going back? And I'm like, I'm not going back to that. This writing is much more fun than practicing.
Why would we do that?
So, well, welcome, Raha. We're so thrilled to have you. And then who else do we have with us today?
Jennifer Marsh, who has been a frequent mom Zoomer with us. She is from Austin, Texas. She's an architect and has a freshman in college and a freshman in high school. So she's split apart there. And then Julie Orchid, who has a freshman in college as well. And she's a nurse. She might be a recovering nurse. She might call that too, a recovering nurse. And then she also has an 8th grade daughter. And then finally we have Helen Savage and Savage. I'm sorry, I mispronounced that. Savage, and she's a mother of a 9-year-old daughter, and she lives in Arlington, Virginia. Arlington, Virginia.
Well, welcome, moms. We're so glad that you could join us.
Happy to be here.
So, questions for Lori. I'm sure you've all heard her story, and I'm sure we all feel very inadequate now that we've heard that, no matter what you all have been doing. Anybody have a question here for Lori about her experience?
I do. First of all, I think it's amazing. Your daughter referred to your son as her best friend on Instagram. And I think as a mom, you feel like you've made it when your kids love each other that much. So congratulations. My question is, how do you keep them grounded? I don't know if you covered this before, but your daughter's at Miu Miu and Prada and Gucci on the carpet. And how do you keep her grounded so she doesn't become like 35 at the age of 18,
Sadie has just pretty much always been grounded. She hasn't, I think being one of 5 kids, really just, she knows she's not, the most important. She's just one of them. And we haven't had any problems with that. She's always been kind of an old soul and just has rolled with it. So I think we're really lucky that she's like that.
No, I think you're doing something right. I want to know what that is, but that's very humble of you.
That was very sweet.
I also want to know what your relationship with your husband is like after all of because you really do. And I did it with club sports and I still do it with club sports. We're definitely divide and conquer. And now that we're down to 1, it's so nice because we both get to go to the out of town lacrosse tournaments and things like that. But, with 5, we only had to do it for 1 where we divided and conquered. How did you do that?
we just did it. I mean, it's just like I said, we had grandparents very involved and helping, because coaching is it's very time consuming too. So we were pretty stretched, but it all,
Especially a football team, it's a huge group of boys that you're in charge of, and you're managing high school, not just the kids, how they perform on the pitch, but how they're performing, in school, how they're performing in the social world. So to have that plus 5 children plus a wife who's managing 2 budding careers, I'm very impressed that you've been able to juggle all of it. And
I do think it's very similar to what all y'all do too. I mean, it's just ours just involved.
God, Lori, can we be friends? You're so nice.
She's very nice. We all.
I have a question for Lori. Lori, I have a daughter who was in theater for quite some time, and she was more of like the child, like the donkey that I was dragging along to kind of keep her going. And that is exhausting. So I'm so excited to hear that your kids were like wanting it and willing. And I think that's so important. And a lesson I've learned now that she's a freshman. She did end up with a scholarship in college a little bit. So she goes, wow, I feel like this has come to, something that is after all these years. So, but you have other children too. And I only had one. So of course I'm madly impressed with what you've done with the large family that you have. A, I want to know if you sleep. And B is how do you, it sounds like a huge team, like almost like a football team. How do you explain to the other children that we are going to go ahead and do this and support this? How did you go about explaining that to them, and what's going to happen in their lives?
Yeah, it was really hard. Like I said, when my boys were, sophomore and junior, and they, faced with moving cross country.
Right.
Yeah, basically for their brother and sister, and
yeah.
which, but it just, family was first. And that's, we knew that this, they were born into this family, and with these kids that, we needed to move forward. A lot of times, of course, it's the parent moving, moving for the parent's job, and which is a little bit different for us because it was, for their brother and sister.
Yeah.
But again, they it was rough, but they look back on it and they've actually said, thank you for moving us here, because we love it. This is where we're supposed to be. But it was rough.
Yeah, I totally understand. 3 high schools in 4 years. So hats off to you, because it is rough, but you do look back and you're like, wow, an amazing experience of opening your eyes to so many opportunity. It's been so fun to listen to your story.
I love what you said about normally the kids move for the parents' job and ours is just a little bit different. Mm-hmm. I think that's such a beautiful way of looking at it, because we rarely consider the children in that way, that we're learning from you just like you're learning from us. And that was just such a beautiful statement you made. I really liked it. The other thing I really want to know is, how do you control the manage of social media in your home? Because I know that can lead to a lot of difficulty, isolation, depression among teens. And I need to get the likes, and I need to get, how does your daughter take 100 pictures and post one? You know what I mean? Those things.
And again, Sadie, she's not, half the time she doesn't know where her phone is.
I love that.
She's not a big poster. She never has been. She just has never really been into social media. So, and that's been really nice, because she's not worried about it. But I mean, it was kind of hard when she got into Stranger Things, and it's funny, they have such a big fan base that even when they heard she was coming to the show, hadn't even been on it, there were some, people that were saying, oh, we like the original group. There were just those little,
Yes.
And at first, I think it was a hard, she just was like, oh no, people are saying, not so nice things about me. And I think she had to just kind of, and I think that's maybe when she realized, oh my goodness, this social media is, not everything. And I need to just kind of take a step back. Or she never was, she just, it's where it's supposed to be in priority list and not very high.
Her little sister kind of looks at that and kind of, I mean, she's only 10. I don't know how much social media she's doing, but do you think that she'll look at that and have it be an influence of how much time she spends on social media watching her sister?
She seems to be the same way. She says she doesn't think TikTok. She's not a TikToker. She's not going to be a TikToker. That's what she says.
I'm so impressed.
Anything against TikTok, but she's just very, I don't know. She's kind of jaded. There's a lot of she's our Jersey girl. The rest will kind of have their Texas, but she's our Jersey girl, and you can tell it in her attitude.
It sounds like the answer is have 5 kids so everyone can keep you grounded, because you're never going to get ahead of yourself with 4 others around you.
That's
and
right.
that way you're also busy. Nothing else in the virtual world matters when you have such a rich family. I don't know how I'm going to have 4 other kids. I'm 43, so I lose.
That's the key.
Yeah, you got to get busy.
That's the key. Have 5 kids. Helen, do you have any questions for Lori?
Well, so I have a question. I'm a little bit of a soccer mom. I coached our daughter's soccer team for kindergarten through 2nd grade. And then, some kids went to travel, some kids did some other things. And she's now playing her first year in travel soccer and actually got to do some playing. But she's always saying, Mom, I want to go on America's Got Talent. Mom, I want to do this. And like you were talking about the skits and the dancing and the songs. And what was your first inkling that you had that they were really serious and, wanting to pursue, when you talked earlier about, starting out going to Houston and, auditioning for plays and that kind of thing? What was your first inkling that they were budding performers?
Yeah, well, like I said, it began with them just doing like little skits and Googling musicals and singing. And they even had their own little characters that they would be all the time. They would just slip into these characters. And that's when I was like, maybe. And then I did, as the time went on, I was thinking, maybe they seem to have some talent. So, so that's when, and then once we started the first one, they just wanted to do the next one. And it just kept going. So.
Well, congratulations. I can't wait. I'm going to start following them on Instagram, I guess.
So great. Well, thank you so much to Lori and all of the Zoomer moms. This has been a fun show, and I'm inspired, and I probably can't have 3 more kids, but
yeah. And Lori, it's great to see your smiling face.
Yeah.
It's so nice to meet everyone. Thank you.
And does Sadie have since we already talked about her social media, she may not have an Instagram account, but where can we follow Sadie?
Yeah, she's on Instagram. She's on, maybe that's about it. Yeah.
Well,
good for her.
I follow her on Instagram. She's pretty
Sadie.
low key.
Okay. Well, great. Well, thanks again to all you moms. And thanks so much, Lori. We really enjoyed having you. It's been great. And we also want to thank our sponsor, Blitz Concessions. Blitz Concessions is the solution for all organizations being run by volunteer parents to raise money for concessions, drive-through dinners, and swag sales. In this new touch-free COVID environment, Blitz can help you raise money for your group. And you can get your demo today by logging on at www.blitzconcessions.com. Thanks, everyone. And thanks, moms, for joining us. And we look forward to next time you can be inside the Moms Club, and follow us on Inside the Moms Club on Instagram as well. Thanks. See you soon.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Bye.